So we're not really going to cover a lot of that today, and there's not always a lot to them. But understanding how the stories and tasks play into it are very important. And also, when I mention the tasks, one, you have a lot more leeway in writing those, right? Because I showed you a very prescriptive format for stories. But with tasks, you can basically write them, generally speaking, however you want. And that's where you're going to be more descriptive in the technical side of what you're actually going to do, what you're actually going to execute. Okay? So that's where, it kind of gets a little bit more to what most people think of as project planning. But you can't get there unless you have your stories, right? But I think that thinking about TEST, right, the acronym, helps you think about how these things are built out. So give you an example. Again, like I said, my most beneficial Agile experience is from IBM. So IBM is a very traditional software company in the sense that they have 2 releases every year, right? They always have they have a summer and they have a spring release. No, excuse me, a summer and a winter release, right? So your theme might be, software X spring. Why do I keep on saying spring? Yeah, it might be software X summer release 2024. Project X winter release 2025. That's going to be your theme, right? The overall project. The epic is the feature. Maybe you're adding Gen AI to one of their free text entry boxes, right? Because remember, IBM has these massive projects, so adding just a couple of features is like a project in itself, right? So that might be your epic. Your epic is that, Dennis, you and your team are going to add Gen AI to these text entry boxes. So that's the epic. And then the story is that what we create, what we say, okay, well, what do we need to incorporate Gen AI into that? And so on, right? And then there's going to be and then, like I said, right, these build upon each other, right? So you're going to have your theme, your winter release, like I said. But then that release is made up of multiple epics. Because obviously, you're going to have multiple teams. So we might be in charge of Gen AI, as a feature. I apologize. We might have Gen AI as a feature, but then there might be another team that's working on some enhancement to the PDF generation or something, right? And then another team's working on another feature. Another team's working on another feature. So you have your theme, you have multiple epics, and then you have multiple stories and multiple tasks within all of those, right? It just kind of like pyramids out from there. But again, for the purposes of us learning, right? Because again, this isn't a master class, just an introduction. We're going to be focused on the stories and tasks. So this is what our test looks like. So our theme is our client engagement with Indigo River, right? We know that we're doing this for our Indigo River client that we came up with last week. We have a signed contract in place. That's our theme. This particular feature, or this particular epic, the feature that we're working on, is data science for alpha farming, right? That's the core task that we've been given. Help us use data science for some alpha farming. Okay? And then from there, it's everything we just discussed. What is your stories, or what are your stories? You know, what are your basic units of work? And then what are the tasks that you need to complete those stories? That's it. That's all we're doing. Right? So I think this might be, yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to walk through building our list of stories. What do the stories look like for our project? And then we're going to pick some of those stories and determine the tasks that are needed. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, well, how do you choose the stories to work on? Right? That's a whole other discussion in Agile planning and in Scrum planning. How do you choose the stories to work on a sprint? How do you choose who works on those stories? That could be like a whole series on its own, how to do that portion. We're going to talk about that. All right. All right. So that's my last slide. Now we're going to get into the work. Any questions, any comments before we do it? Because now we're going to flip over to doing some of this actual work. We're going to start writing some stories. What do you guys think? Any questions? Or are you guys ready to go for stories? Let me know in the comments, guys. Give me some feedback if we're ready. Any questions? Good time for it. Okay, Yassine says he's ready. Fatima also is ready. Okay, Rahul's ready. Okay, cool. So let's do it. So here's the things I want you all to keep in mind, okay? One, I want you to keep this format in mind. Because remember, guys, we're about to have a lot of audience participation, right? This is the audience participation portion. I'm not writing these. You guys are writing these. So first thing I want you to keep in mind, if you're going to submit a story, right? Because remember, I'm the chief data scientist. I'm also playing Scrum Master today. We're in a team meeting. You guys are the data scientists on the team. You're going to be sending me stories. So anything you submit, I want to see you guys follow this format, right? Don't worry about the tasks. Worry about the format and the story. What is it that you're describing? As a blank role, I want to feature or benefit so that, that's the benefit. I should have said feature in the first one, right? So role, feature, benefit. So that's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. Second thing I want you to keep in mind is this.